Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. Today's in our first lecture of the course Operation Research, we will discuss the topics relating to the subject introduction, means its definition, and the history relating to the beginning and the uses of Operation Research. What are the aspects in the study of Operation Research and the stages and phases that we adopt to make useful Operation Research studies in our management sciences and in other fields. So your course instructor, Dr. Amara, will try to give the view of the course and the aspects and the stages or phases relating to the Operation Research study. Because I think this course will be the new for you, so I want to first explain the basic terms and terminologies which are we going to use, the words, the terms and terminologies relating to the subject Operation Research. So we represent the Operation Research mostly in practice with the OR, and we already know that MS for the management science, that the symbol model is for is specially using the mathematical symbols. So here model means a system is going to be expressed with the help of mathematical modeling or mathematical formulation system and using the quantitative techniques. So it means there are variables combined with the operators and operands. Criterion means measurement, which is used to evaluate find the evaluation of the results. Integer programming is a technique which ensures only integral values of the variables in the problem. Similarly, dynamic programming, linear programming, inventory model, and optimization. So here I want to explain optimization. Other terminologies have the definitions written before them. Optimization means the solution which is feasible for us. Feasible means that is going to give us our objective, and our objective may be the maximization of profit, maximization of income, and minimization of cost, minimization of labor, and minimization of time. So starting our subject Operation Research, Britishers used to call it operational research, and Americans operations research, and sometimes you use the symbol OR just for the operation research. Sometimes they used to call it management science, MS, and then they combine it with the OR or MS, and sometimes industrial engineering, the IE or decision science. But in recent years, standardized form of OR is used to represent this course or this subject, these systems or these techniques or processes which we are going to learn in this subject or in this course. If we talk about Operation Research, we can say that it is relatively a new discipline. Its contents, boundaries are not yet fixed. Formal definition of the term Operation Research is difficult. But I can say that we use Operation Research, and Operation Research is used in the situation for decision making problems whose solution requires answering three questions. What are the decisions alternatives, and under what restrictions is the decision made? What is an appropriate objective criterion or evaluating the alternatives? So these three questions, what are the decision alternatives, under what restrictions is the decision made, and what is an appropriate objective criterion, we have to use the mathematical equations or mathematical models and quantitative techniques to find the decision or the solution relating to these three questions. So the decisions that we take simply by using this sense operation research will help us in finding the judgment and making the sense in becoming the experts relating to simple problems or complex problems. So operation research is basically a discipline used to find out the problem and also finding its solution. So if I want to give an example of the uses of operation research, I may represent the public transportation system. So public transportation system needs a network that need the planning in the city or a special layout. For example, the area where the factories are need the different planning. Where there are residential blocks, the transportation network needs the different planning. And where there is a product mix, means there are factories and also the residential areas, then we have a different plannings over there. So when we combine these the solutions for these problems with the help of mathematical formulation and then using the quantitative techniques, we will learn how we use the mathematical formulation. For example, if we have a transportation problem, so we can represent transportation problem with the variable y, and we want to solve it for the factory or residential area. So for the factory area or factory layout, x1 represent the factory area and x2 represent the residential blocks. So in this way we use the mathematical model formulation and quantitative techniques to find out the solutions relating to the problems in the operation research. The main purpose of the operation research is to find the decision relating to the problems where there is incomplete information. So I can say operation research purpose is to find the scheduling, about the time management. We can also use it in agriculture planning. We can also use it to find out the resources that will find the solution to give us the best planning. It is also used in supply chain management for the vehicle routing problems. It is also used in inventory management and networking optimization and engineering, packet routing optimization, risk management. Everywhere there, its purpose is to find a rational basis for decision making in the absence of complete information, because the system composed of human, machine and procedures may do not have complete information. So if we talk about the aspects, means the sense behind the operation researches, so we can say that the sense behind it is describing, understanding, predicting about the system behavior where man, machine and a system is involved. So how we can find out the we can develop a sense and we can describe or understand or predict the problem. We have to use these following three aspects. First, we have to determine the system behavior. Then we have to find out and analysis the system behavior by developing an appropriate model, and then we can predict about the future behaviors using that model. Operation research, which is applicable for scientific methods to the management and administration of organized military, governmental, commercial and industrial purposes. We can define it in many ways, but firstly it was properly defined by the Britisher in 1962 in his Operation Research Society research paper. He defined it that modern science or complex problem arises in management. So when there are a large system in a management, where there are men, machines, materials, money, and such huge industries, businesses, government and defense organizations uses scientific model approach to develop their appropriate system to measure the factors, to measure the changes in the factors, to measure the change in the risk level, to find out, predict and compare the outcomes of alternative decisions, to find out and define the strategies to control the system, to help the management to determine their policies and actions scientifically. Operation research is there to help. So this is the proper definition of operation research which was firstly given. Rather than till now, many researchers and statisticians, mathematicians, businessmen, researchers define it, but the firstly definition which was given about it was considered more appropriate and relating to the disciplines, different varieties, very accurately and properly. We say when the history of operation research starts, we can easily say it starts from the World War II in the 19th century, when there was an industrial revolution involved, and the industrial revolution involved the mechanism or replacement of human by machine as a source of physical work. Study and improvement of such work formed on the base of the field of industrial engineering. Many contemporary issues are concerned with automation or mechanisms of mental work. The primary technologies involved are mechanism of symbol generations, mechanism of symbol transformation, mechanism of logical manipulation of symbols, and then operation research was there to help such mechanism with the help of scientific methods. But if we say want to know, okay, nowadays what is the history of behind the operation research, so Indians are the first who are using operation research as a proper discipline. Firstly, in the regional research laboratory at Hyderabad, he uses it. Then in 1953, operation research was used to establish statistical institute in Kolkata, and the objective was to operation research methods they uses in national planning survey in 1955, and now till international federations of operation research and societies are there, and their purpose is to give a proper knowledge that can help in management in management by the help of proper quantitative techniques, mathematical studies, and some scientific rules or fundamentals, on the basis of scientific rules or fundamentals. Previously, that all we discussed in the previous slides was relating to the definition and giving you the little bit idea about the subject. And till now, before this slide, I am sure you can assess that operation research helped you in finding the problems, in defining the problems, in selecting the proper data to execute your model, and for finding the proper solution, optimal solution, feasible solution, and then executing the solution and finding the proper your optimization, feasible implemented solution for the problem you facing or you have defined. So now we starting to know about the stages, phases and the process of operation research. So phases, process or the stages of operation research are six. First is to observe the problem. Observe the problem environment. Then to analyze the problem and define it. Then you have to develop the model. For developing the model, you have to define the problem. It means if you, for example, it's a student and teacher model. So you will represent the teacher with Y and student with the X variables. So the factors which are involved in the problem, you name them and name them by using some variable notations. Then you develop a model. Model means a mathematical formulation. Mathematical formulation means there are variables, there will be operators and there will be operands. So you will combine them and make an equation. Equation or maybe inequality which can represent your system. If you may develop an inequality, it means you are showing your capacities, you are showing the restrictions. But if you made the model, it means you are representing your system, what is the input and what is the output. So in both situations, you have to observe the problem by using the operation research stages or phases. Then you have to define the problem and then you have to develop a model. The model that will help you to input some data and execute it little bit on the initial stages, that you can came to know whether this model is a solution of your problem or not. Or if you put the data and you get your desired result, you are getting your objective, so it means your model is appropriate. Now you can provide a solution, test it and implement your solution. So these are the stages which are involved in the operation research studies, and these stages are the base of any operation research problem, and these stages will help to find the solution of the problem. So in this slide and in the remaining 5 or 6 slides, the steps, the stages, the phases or the process of operation research is discussed in detail, and inshallah we will interact with these steps in the class also. So these slides will help you to find in detail about the stages or the process of operation research. Yes, I'm going to use this slide for ending up my introductory points about the operation research and its stages, phases, its history, its definition, and then its protocols and the remaining slides. So here in these slides, I have a table representing 3 attributes. First attribute or first column is representing site visit. So if we go back to the stages or the process of operation research, first stage is to define the problem. So for defining the problem, we have to visit the site. If we are in the conference, then we have to be there. If we are observing something, then we have to be there. And if we are conducting the research, then we have to know the limits, we have to know its objectives, and we have to know its uses. So the first important process activity in the operation research study is to visit the site. You have to be there in the conference. You have to observe the things by yourself. You have to research by your own. And for all these, you have to define, you have to use, you have to give your objectives, you have to give your limitations. And how you have to give your objectives, limitations and uses, and how you can define the problem, when you can define the interrelationship among the variables which are working in the system. You have to define the variables, you have to define the interrelationship among them. Then you can be able to formulate an equation by using mathematical model. Then you can be able to use known as OR models, search alternative models. And then you will be able to analyze the internal or external data, facts, collected options. You can use data bank to input the data and execute your model, and then you be able to test the model, finding the limitations, and can update the model. So in this way you can resolve the behavioral issues, and then you can sell your ideas, you can give explanation to the management that is involved, and then you can properly suggest the optimal or feasible solution of the problems. Similarly, in the second column, the process activities which are attributable in the operation research are to observe the problem environment. It means you have to analyze and define the problem. It means when you are able to define the problem and you are there to observe the problem environment, then you will surely be able to define the variables, to name the variables, and then you can define their environment and their contribution, the interrelationship between them. So then you can formulate the equation or can develop a model. So after developing a model, you have to select the appropriate data to input and to execute your model, that you can came to know what is the solution that is reasonable for you. Reasonable means that is the optimal solution for your problem, that will be feasible for you, and then you can implement the solution. Similarly, last column or the last attribute of the operation research activities or processes, sufficient information and support to proceed. You should have sufficient information and support to proceed. It means you have to clearly define the problem, you have to clearly define the objectives, you have to clearly define the limitations, you have to know what are the uses of your solution. So you have to define the interrelationship among the variables, and this way you can give the best output. So clear grasp of need for the nature of solution requested, models that works under stated environmental constraints, sufficient input to operate and test models, solutions that support current organizational goals, improved working and management support for longer run operation of model is needed. And these are all the activities relating to the process for the output in an operation research system. So after defining the problem and visiting the sites and defining the variables or factors which are in the system according to the environment of the problem, and then you can find out the appropriate data to input into the model, you will formulate the model and then execute the model. Or if you are successful in the execution of after developing a model and inputting the data and getting your objectives, then you can implement that model or that solution for your problem. So for finding all the mathematical models and defining the variables, we need some techniques or procedures. So the tools and techniques which are mostly used and frequently used in the operation research and are suitable to finding the solutions, optimal solutions or feasible solutions of our problems, and that are the linear programming methods, mathematical procedures, cost analysis, electronical computations, or we can say game theory, decision theory, Coing theory, inventory models, and simulation. And inshallah all these techniques and procedures we will discuss and learn how to apply them in our semester, inshallah. So I'm winding up my this short briefing about my tomorrow's lecture. with giving the limitations of operation research. And as every discipline, every course, every system has some limitations, operation research has the limitations which are involved in its application. So first limitation is distance between operation research specialist and a manager. A manager can't be an operation research specialist. Magnitude of calculations. You have to know what are the restrictions, what are the methods that you can adopt to formulate your models, to find out the solutions relating to the techniques and tools. Money and cost are the limitation in operation research. Non-quantifiable factors. Implementation. So you can only execute, you can't implement your suggestions or your solutions or your predictions. It is the managers who will apply or implement your solutions. So these are the limitation of operation research, and in a brief way, and we will discuss it inshallah in the long run in the semester, as we will learn all the techniques and tools relating to the operation research theory. So this is all, and thank you. Allah Hafiz.